Hello and welcome to Embellish Craft Studio. My name is Diane. This is my first YouTube video, so please bear with me as I go ahead and probably commit every mistake in the book. I'm very nervous, so you probably will be able to hear that in my voice. At the moment, my crafting space is having to be reworked. So my supplies are all in boxes, and the table that broke has been replaced, but I have to put everything back now. For a bit of disclosure, I became disabled 10 years ago and now use a wheelchair. So all my supplies are piled on the table so that I can reach everything. So I apologise for a very full, busy screen at the moment. The concept for today's video was me looking at some jelly babies and thinking, wonder if it's possible that I can create a jelly baby Christmas tree, but made with resin. So today I'm going to use two different resins, the epoxy two-parter resin from Apex, which I'm going to use for the ornaments on the tree, and UV resin, which I'm going to make into sheets and actually create a Christmas tree without a mould. It's a creepy Christmas tree, which means I'm going to have a bit of fun with the ornaments that I use. So I'm going to be using skulls, snails, frogs, and newts. As you can see, I've put my resin on a tub so that it raises the eye level of it so that I can measure more accurately. So here I am pouring the two-part epoxy, and we're going to make the decorations first. Now, I'm quite fortunate in the fact that jelly babies are matte, and it's quite convenient that the matte moulds I'm using are for ice and have a matte finish. I'm going to be using primary colours because this lamp is going to be a lit lamp, because the lamp, I'm going to put a light in the middle of it so that it lights up. And so I'm going to do the resin, as you can see, and I'm actually going to start and mix it up, and merging the resin and the hardener. I think I'll bring it back into shot in a minute. It's the first time I've used a resin, and this was the Foscure one, and I was very surprised how bubbly it was when I poured the two parts out. You can see it's quite looking extremely full of bubbles. I shouldn't really have worried about it, because as you stir it, it does start to degas extremely quickly. And I was very pleased with the way that there weren't really any bubbles left in it by the time I was starting to use it. At the moment now, I'm stirring it round, and I'm going to decant in a minute into the smaller cartons, and for those that aren't aware of using resin, I'm mixing the colour, the two-part epoxy in, so that the hardener and the resin actually merge together. So I have to mix it until it's nice and clear. I am going to colour the three different pots of resin with primary colours. The primary colours I'm using are pigment inks. They're not alcoholic, because I do use UV resin quite a bit, and I can quite happily use these pigment inks in the UV. The other reason I want to use primary colours is that I'm hoping to make a frog, and I want to try and get some blending going on within the frog. So if I use the primary colours, I hope I can get kind of a rainbow effect in the frog. As you can see now, I've almost got my colours together, ready to pour. I'm going to actually use a small pipette, which I actually get on with. I've tried the plastic pipettes that you can buy, and I just don't get on with those. But these kinds of pipettes, I do actually get on with them. So it's the first time using that, and it's something that I've learnt I will be using again. Just for your information, when I became disabled, I also sustained a bit of brain damage, and so I do have a nerve propensity to using the incorrect word. So sometimes with hilarious results. So please bear with me if you find that I am using the wrong word. Right, I'm just going to have a little bit of a faff, as usual. I didn't realise until I recorded myself that I faff as much as I do. I'm just going to get the moulds ready, and so I create a bit of space for you so that you can see what I'm doing. So now I've managed to take more of the things out off camera. I'm about ready for starting pouring. Now it's at this stage that I start to put the resin into the moulds, and I pick up the container that's holding the resin and realise it's a lot warmer than I thought it would be. Now, those people who have worked with resin probably know what's going to come next, because as I start filling the moulds up, I realise that it's become extremely thick. Now, when I reach the end of this row, it is starting to smoke. By this time, my little squirrels in my head are freaking out. But you can see I do actually have a quick thought and remove the black mould with the big skulls in and put the frog mould into. Now you can see it's just a hot mess. So I remove the big skull mold and quickly get the frog mould and just put all the resin in. As if people don't know, what's happening is actually flash curing. It's reached the temperature that the chemical reaction is actually taking place in. I think my reasoning that when after I thought is I'd warmed up the resin and I'd warmed up the mould, and I'd not really had much experience about the viscosity of the Apex resin, and I got to know now that it's a thicker resin than I've ever used before. So as you can see, the blue is I just put it all in, by which time it's smoking and I have to act fast. I then tip all the resin into the mould, not really expecting a frog at the end of it. Right, so what I actually did then was re-poured some off camera, and this is the next day when I'm starting to demold all the little bits and pieces that I have made. I won't let you sit through all of the demolding process, but this is just what I do, going along them and just taking off any of the overspill. And although it was quite good because the resin did actually let me pull the excess away without the scissors, so I didn't use the scissors as much. Right, this is me just demolding the big pieces of resin, the little skulls, but they're too big for what I originally intended them from. But they would make excellent key rings, and they do look like jelly babies. I'm then going to demold the frog, and I'm just not expecting much, but here comes the frog. I am carefully demolding it, making sure that I don't amputate the toes. Here we go. Just taking off the bits of excess resin as a drop off. Get a bit of paper there to show you. Here are some pictures to show you what actually I got, which I was very impressed about. I really like the way that the colours have merged in the back. Now it's the UV time to make the tree. So I drew out the tree and made a net of the square base pyramid which is there on the cardboard. I just wanted to test the scale of it, and so I thought the best thing would be to draw a net out. Once I'd done that, I then drew out one of the sides of the pyramid onto the white paper. Then I'm just highlighting the corners so that I can draw that out on the opposite side of the greaseproof paper that the resin isn't going to come in contact with. So I've folded the greaseproof paper, it's got its little pocket, and I'm just going to draw the dots and connect them to make my side of the resin tree. Then what I'm going to do is going to mix some UV, add some pigment, so I've got the colour that I want, and then I add a little bit of glitter so that I get a bit of a shiny tree. Now, after I've done that, I am going to make the sheets by just very gently pressing the resin out in between the two sheets, and so that it stays within the triangle that I've actually drawn on the paper. It does take a bit of an art. You do tend to then build it up, have to build it up, and cure each layer independently, as you do get little holes in the resin. So by layering it up, you can then get a full sheet without any holes. I tend to use the ruler to actually push back at the sides the resin to actually get the sheet of paper, the triangle that I want. So you build the sheets up, and you'd have to dig that 4 times to get the full size of the Christmas tree. Once you've got all 4 sides, then it's a case of heating up the sides of the resin with a heat gun. And what I usually do then is press with a metal ruler, and it actually will kind of score it for you. So you can cut them out with a pair of tin snips. Then it's just a case of getting all your tiny ornaments and carefully UVing them onto the tree. I usually use a lamp and a tiny torch. I go into the actual tree and use the UV torch to actually set that side. And I'm very lucky to have got a curing machine from Resin Rockers. This machine has enabled me to further my UV work, and I can't recommend it enough. Although, from a safety point of view, I would recommend that you invest in a pair of UV blocking glasses to protect your eyes. So here are the glamour shots of the tree. How do you think I did? I would love to hear your comments. If I can also ask if you would like and subscribe this channel, it is totally free, but it would help my channel grow. At the moment, I am not monetized, and so if you want me to support me there, please go below where you'll find a link for Buy Me a Coffee. I want to thank Dragons and Dresses for putting on this collaboration, and many thanks for letting me take part. If you go below, you'll also find a playlist of a link of all the people that are taking part in this collaboration. All it remains for me is to wish you a very happy, peaceful Christmas. I'd love for you to pop back again and see what crazy ideas my squirrels in my head have got me thinking of next.